Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time of day you've chosen to join us, I thank you. I'm your host, Adam Gerard, and welcome to A Word with Adam. My guest at this time is, in my opinion, the best heel in the business and in real life as well, Tyler Daniels.
Adam?
How are you today?
I'm okay.
I'll try to be polite because you'll probably kick the shit out of me if I'm not.
I prefer that you do better than try. Perhaps you should achieve.
Now, I'm going to get straight into it, as I like to. Last match I saw you in was the Riot City Rumble.
Yes.
And before that, a match where you very smartly worked your way around a stipulation. So let's talk about that night.
Yeah,
Let's go right from the start. So first time you walked through the curtain for that night was your match against Smash.
Correct.
And the crowd kind of lit up for you, as they always do, which I know pisses you off. So,
oh, look, it's very humbling, and it's a really nice thing to know that there's that sort of support out there, I suppose. It's hard at times when the idea is to get as hated as you possibly can. And I do my fair share of that, don't get me wrong. And in one sense, a little bit hard for me as a heel because I've done a lot of commentary over my time, and generally I get over as a commentator. People enjoy that commentary. It's quite witty, but it's that cool aspect of being the heel, which hurts me in some aspects because when I actually then transition that to the ring, people still get caught up on liking the commentary aspect. So there's always those fans that are going to appreciate and cheer that. The cool part was over the last couple of shows, probably the work I've done with Green, when he's coming out, he's actually getting the cheers and the heat that he should be getting.
He's definitely getting the kids.
That's
the difference. You're getting the dudes who are just going like, fucking kick the shit out of this kid.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the kids are just like, no.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's good because, there's definitely and it's a bigger part of the audience now which recognises what I'm doing is quite, it's got a lot of impact, but it's quite aggressive and it's quite brutal and it's quite almost unfair towards this young kid, which is good. Yeah, that's the whole idea, and that's always been the angle to get Green across as well. As that babyface young guy who is up and coming and he's got huge potential.
Definitely.
Not at the detriment of me though. However, he's got huge potential. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then obviously, so you have the match.
Yep. So
which was you had to have a match with Green in order to enter the Rumble.
Correct. Had to have a match. Obviously, for those who are playing at home and know the show before, was supposed to have a match.
Yep.
I don't necessarily play by anyone else's rules. I've got a motto: you don't go to someone else's home ground and play by their rules. Yeah. You always manipulate it to the benefit of yourself. And so, for me, I didn't consider he deserved a match, hence he didn't get a match last time, he got a beating.
Yeah, he did.
I made the statement quite deliberately, in my day, you took beatings until you learned how to give beatings. So, for that was a beating for him. I'm sure he'll go away and learn from that. The other side to that is in this time we come out, yeah, you're right, I had to have a match. No one said that I had to complete a match. No one said I had to win the match, lose the match, do anything in that. And the reality was, I'm happy to give him a little bit of airtime, but really, the main thing was getting to the Rumble. I did what I was required to do.
You yourself out before the Rumble, didn't
you? I did what I was required to do. Nothing more.
All right, and then later on in the night, you're very early in the Rumble. Might be what most people would call a journeyman in that Rumble match.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
So talk me through that. What's it like? Do you, before you go in, do you know kind of in your head, do you have a games, like a strategy to it, or...?
Yeah, you do. I mean, you definitely sort of understand sort of what your number is.
Yeah.
And you go, okay, so where am I going to start? Am I partway through? Am I the middle? Am I toward the end? So you have to gauge, how much petrol you're going to have left in the tank,
of course,
In saying that, not everyone else wants to play by your game plan, and of course, you need to exert as much as you need to stay in there. So the game plan was always to be smart about it, to outthink the situation, and that's in any given situation. So, and Rumbles are interesting because you generally have time to catch a breather here and there, and there's a lot of kicking and punching and being sort of ground down, if you like, which is great for me. I enjoy that. I'm fine with that. I think as I'm getting older, I'm a bit more like Greg Valentine. It takes me 15-20 minutes just to get warmed up these days. So for me, that was fine. It was interesting. It was good to be in there with so many of the guys. Only sort of starting with Riot City at the start of this year. I see a lot of the guys in the locker room, and at times at training you get to see them, but you don't necessarily get a lot of ring time, and certainly not on shows. So it was good to be in the ring with some of those guys and some of the younger guys. End of the day, though, it's not about them. So the reality is you're there for the long haul as long as you can be there. So
nice. And how does it feel then when you go over the top?
Oh, look, it's that moment of realisation of, oh, fuck, that's it, I'm out. For me, though, I'm always quite calculated and very strategic with everything I do, and you've probably picked it up anyway. So for me, it's like, fuck, I'm out, I'm over the top. In one part of my mind, I'm going, well, good for you, Green. You got a little bit of payback, and good for you. Let's see how you do. And as we saw, he went well. Didn't quite get the chocolates though. So how much did that really help him? Really worrying about me. So the other side to that is straight out. And for me, it's always about, people say you either win or you lose. For me, it's more about you win or you learn. So I'd go away from that going, okay, yep. So went that far. Unfortunately. And probably a momentary lapse of concentration, one mistake, and that's all it takes. And that's all it ever takes, really, is that one mistake. That was what, 2 weeks ago. Moved on from there. That was what it was. Start planning for what's next.
Yeah, well, exactly. So the next match for RCW for you is the Key to the City match. How do you train for that?
You've got to pull that apart, and that's the strategic thinking I think that I talked about before. There's a lot of that. You've pulled it apart to the concept that, firstly, there's 4 competitors. So you're not just one-on-one with someone. So you've got to be, and it's not a tag match. So you've got to be aware of not just one person, but 3 other people and what they're doing any time. So that's one thing you've got to do. So there's a lot of awareness and a lot of understanding of making sure you're focused on what you're doing without, not at the detriment of losing sight of everyone else. So that's one thing. The other side to that is it's not like any other match. It's not a submission. It's not a pinfall. It's literally using a ladder to get a key off the tongue from the ring. So I haven't really done too much about it. I'm wondering whether I need to, as silly as it sounds, start working with a ladder.
That's what I was going to say, like explosive.
Yeah, up and down the ladder. But I think more than anything is, the stability on the ladder and how to actually maintain that, because no doubt, there's going to be times, if it's not me, it's someone else who's trying to use that ladder to get up there, and whether you can stay on there or get knocked off, or it's about that strength, but it's about that balanced understanding, I guess, the agility you're going to need for that.
Is there a mental aspect to also knowing, unlike a normal match, you might hit the ring, or you might hit the pad outside the ring. Mm-hmm. The worst thing you might need is a turnbuckle or the side of the ring
or something like that. Yeah.
In this match, it's pretty much a guarantee you're going to get a ladder thrown at you, or you're going to get thrown into a ladder or slammed onto a ladder. How do you mentally go? Yeah, this is going to be a fun day at the office. I'm going to get slammed on metal.
That's a good question. It's a good call. I guess it comes into a couple of different ways to look at it. One is it's a day at the office, and wrestling at its best and worst hurts,
of course, yeah.
One way or another. And look, I don't think there's any wrestler going around into a match that's 100%. That's the first thing. Like you carry injuries, you're always stiff, you're always sore, something's not right. You're always carrying something. So that's one thing. The mental aspect of this huge metallic object that hurts like buggery. It's a mental thing as much as anything in regard to when I go to the gym and I'm already sore and I train, and you're pushing yourself to get through your workout, to get through those reps, to get through that set, to get to the next one. You know what else you've got. But it's a case of, okay, that's what it is, and you make the mental understanding that you're at peace with that that's what you're doing. So you come to an understanding and acceptance that this is going to hurt, but this is why, and what's the payoff for that hurt. Not unlike the fact that you're likely going to get thrown into a ladder or have a ladder land on you, or something's going to happen with that ladder which is going to hurt. As wrestlers, you learn to deal with pain and accept pain, and you, for a large part, learn to block out a lot of pain. And that's the thing. You go into it knowing, okay, this is going to hurt, and ride the bumps. I guess as silly as it sounds, roll the punches, ride the bumps. It's going to hurt. Things are going to happen. As much as you can prepare yourself for, you're probably going to end up getting hit by that and going, I really didn't want that to happen and wasn't really as prepared as I thought I was going to be. And that fucking hurts more than I hoped it would. Yeah. So, end of the day though, how badly do you want that key? Yeah. And that's what it comes down to. What are you willing to put up with? What are you willing to endure? And the saying that I always live by that is winners do what losers won't. Mm-hmm. So if I want that key, I know what I'm going to have to do, and I know that I'm going to have to go through 3 other guys, and I know I'm going to have a ladder involved in that, and I know there's going to be pain, and I know after the match I'm going to be licking my wounds, and win, lose or draw, it's going to be, it's going to be brutal. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things.
Talk me through what's the diet and the workout schedule, and how do you keep yourself in what has to be basically pro athlete?
Yeah. Look, to be fair, for a lot of my early career, I didn't have that opportunity. I had a lot of other responsibilities that took me away from the ring, and I couldn't dedicate myself like I wanted to.
Yep.
I had family and work and commitments, etc. That really didn't allow me to do that. So yes, I was wrestling, and yes, I've always been athletic, and there's always been an undertone of ability, raw natural athletic ability. I played sport all my life when I was growing up and stuff, which got me through. I wasn't necessarily in the greatest shape, and it was probably about 3 or 4 years ago where I really made a concerted effort to start training incredibly hard.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of years of really hard work, etc. And probably now I'm at a point where I train pretty much practically every day. It's at least probably 5 days a week with a couple of rest days, and quite often I'll train myself in the gym and then go to wrestling training and actually roll and bump and stuff like that as well. So it can be twice a day as well. Diet's a funny thing for me. Again, background being Italian was big meals, very carb heavy, love foods, rich flavours, textures, all that stuff, and I still do. Probably not the most conducive to staying in good shape. So for me, I had to, a few years ago when I started getting serious about my training, had to make a decision and sort of, I changed my relationship with food to being food is the fuel you put in your body to get to your next activity, which took away from that. Now, in saying that, that's easier said than done, obviously. One thing. The other side to that is I'm not, I don't crucify myself in that sense. I train relatively hard, so I like to allow myself the opportunity to indulge and enjoy that as well. So, just loosely, they say that good health and fitness is in 80% diet, 20% hard work.
Yep.
I definitely do the 20% hard work. So I look at it and go, well, okay, I'm going to have a diet that 80% of the time is really strict and really good, but 20% of the time I'm actually going to enjoy my diet and eat the things I want to do. So, for me, it's about, sensibility and not being ridiculous with it. So if you have a day where you eat everything you want to eat and it's not the greatest thing to train on and whatever, it's one day. So the next day you get back at it and back in the gym and train that day off and go forward. So I'm not about killing myself in that sense. In saying that, my diet is pretty good and pretty strict, and there's a lot of chicken and vegetables and stuff like that. And it's, again, it's probably a little bit sort of gilded away. Like I said before, that concept of no wasted motion and efficiency, etc. is because I'm lazy as well, to be fair. So when I eat, I'm notorious, and I've given away my secrets to a lot of the guys at wrestling and that, I'm notoriously lazy in that sense, but I found ways to eat really clean, really lazily. Before work, I'd have a three omelette I'd make up and I'd take to work, and then do my mid-morning meal and have some fruit and whatever. But for lunch, because I was terrible with meal prep and stuff, literally I found frozen spinach in cubes, and I would chuck that in a container and microwave brown rice. So I'd take that and a 400-gram can of tuna, and literally would let the spinach start to thaw out during the day on my desk. Lunchtime, bang, that goes in the microwave for 2 minutes with the rice, bang, that tuna goes in, and I'm eating tuna, rice and spinach. As clean as you can get, but it's as lazy as hell to make.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I've got a few tricks and tips around that I would do. It's not the most endearing meal to have day after day after day, but I'm stubborn enough to stick to it because that's what I want to do, and that's the goal. So look, willpower is good, but willpower is like a muscle. The more you train it, the bigger it gets. So look, diet is relatively good, as I say, and I'm pretty conscious of it. And not to the point where I'll kill myself though, but there's certainly, if I know there's shows coming up or there's something I need to do and I need to specifically train for something, I'll modify diet slightly to make sure that it fits in with that. But I enjoy a meal and I enjoy drink as well. So everything in moderation, and you train accordingly to what you do. So
I've talked about is your character, because I know, having spoken to you candidly behind the scenes, that you personify what Austin always said, which was you just take who you are, and you turn it up to 10 or 11, because you are naturally a smart. I mean this in an endearing way. You're naturally a smart ass.
yeah.
And so when you go out there, your character. That's why your character to me feels so real, because it's just going, man, Tyler's just turning it up. So do you like how did your character evolve from when you started wrestling into now being into the difference? And do you have any advice for up and coming performers as to how to make their characters stand out?
Yeah, we all fall into the same trap when we start the business. We think we know who we want to be,
yep.
and we try our hardest to go out to be this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Very rarely have I ever seen that work for someone. Yeah. It takes time. And it takes time in regard to know who you are, what you do, and then trying to mould that to a character to understand what that character does. How does that character relate? How would that character react? What would that character do or say or feel in this moment? If something happened that, took them by surprise, how would that character react? Because once you're out there past that curtain, it's not you anymore, it's however that person would do it. Yeah. The lucky ones, and I consider myself to be a lucky one in that sense, from what you just said, you turn that dial up to, in my case, 13 or 14. Mm-hmm. It's just you. So you're that character, but how is that character going to react is just a personification of how you would react. Yeah. Is there, and pardon me the pun, is there a difference between who I would and how I would react and how that character would? There is. Is it slight? Yeah. Subtle at times. It's probably not a huge variation, but there is at times variation of how I would as opposed to how the character would. In saying that, and you said when you started, and that's the part that I try and stress to the guys these days, is it just takes time. If you're lucky, you'll find it in 5 minutes. If you're unlucky, you will spend your whole career trying to chase that character down. The thing you've got to be aware of is you've got to be willing to commit to that character. Absolutely. Whatever that character is you take on, you've got to commit to being that person and that character. And I've gone through a couple of different names at the start. And to be honest, my first his nickname, if you like, when I came into business was the Hitman. And it was a slight rip-off of Bret Hart. Similar sort of attire, different colours, but similar sort of attire, similar sort of movement, etc. So it was a slight Hitman rip-off. And that sort of went away. Came back again a few years later, but I could never really find exactly who I wanted to be and how I wanted that to play out. And probably a little bit of that as well, for the first probably 2 or 3 years, I used to go out and have my match and know what I needed to do, wanted to do, get it all done at work, and yep, bang. And I'd come back and I'd sit down, how'd that go? Yeah, okay, got that. Yeah, I could have done this better, blah. And then I would sit there and go, okay, so seemed to get a good reaction from the crowd. And I went, but I really have no idea, because I actually didn't stop to acknowledge or interact or understand the crowd was even there. So I was like wrestling in this ring with this void around the ring. It took me years to go, when you go out there, make sure you stop and acknowledge them and look at the crowd and see who's there and understand them. Because I would keep coming back going, fuck, next time I must make sure I really engage the crowd and understand the crowd. Thankfully, I think I had enough psychology to understand how to put a match together that they got it, but I never really recognised that they were even there, to my detriment. And it took me years to get comfortable enough with me and my ring craft and what I do and how I do. And if something goes wrong, what do you do and how do you compensate for that, to then be able to spend that time with them. So that took me a number of years to get. That's a massive part of the character, because then it's a case of, okay, well, the character can stop and can spend that time with them, face or heel, and I've done both, of, yeah, engage me, I want to engage you, I want to bring you in. That then builds, how does that character then relate to that? As a face, if I engage them in, how do I engage back to blunt them now? If it's a heel, how do I get their vengeance and hatred toward me, and how do I then retaliate to that? So that's all part of understanding that. Then over the years, so much of it then becomes more comfortable, more natural. I could worry less about my precision in doing stuff and how it goes, and my way of working a match and what do I do and all that. That's comfortable. I get that. That's second nature. It's then developing, how do I then do all the other stuff I need to do to be well-rounded. And that has taken a lot of time. And the reality is, you come down to the character, the difference. I literally only came across that at the start of this year. So it's taken me 13 years to find the character and the gimmick that is truly me. Yeah. So I say that hopefully no one else has to spend 13, 14 years doing that. It is the most comfortable character because it is just me.
It's just your own skin.
It is, and it's It truly is, and you're finding the concept of the difference is such a natural element to how I guess portray myself in everyday life as opposed to just wrestling as well. It is, I do take pride in having an element of being slightly left off centre and coming from a perspective that most people wouldn't understand or wouldn't get on the face value.
Yep.
However, when they actually engage in it, go, oh shit, that makes sense, and I've not seen that before, or I've not understood that before. But now that I look at it, that's so much more clever than what I could have thought it was. So for me, it's a very easy situation to fall into. As I said, took me 13 years to get to that point, and I was comfortable with who I was and my character and everything like that. But to really find that, has taken me till now.
Yeah.
The reason I sort of come back to Austin at the start of all that was simply because you said Austin says turn up. You have a look at Austin, Stunning Steve Austin, great character, loved it. I thought it was amazing. It was never going to be allowed to do it in WWF.
No.
And even when we went to ECW, for example, I loved him in ECW as well.
ECW was amazing.
It was great because it was
just pissed off.
It was just Steve Austin being Steve Austin.
Exactly.
He didn't have to be Stunning Steve. He didn't have to be Stone Cold. He was just being the guy who was annoyed, who thought he was better than what they thought he was. They shouldn't have let that go. So he's my vengeance, and obviously Heyman gave him the platform for it, and amazing stuff. And you got to see when he's just being him how engaging he was.
Really funny too.
Oh, exactly.
Like acidic funny, where you're just like, it's so.
And so much of it you could tell was legitimate feelings
Yeah,
about
exactly,
hate
yeah.
and shoot, and was all there. It was great. So when he came to WWF, they tried to give him the ringmaster, and it just fucking failed. Like, it was terrible. And he knew it himself. And if you have ever read or listened to him, he tells a story about how he came up with it. He knew he needed this new gimmick and couldn't find it and blah. And he was watching TV or something with his wife at the time, might have been Deborah, I think, at the time. And something came up, blah, and I've actually seen the documentary and read the book on the guy talking about the Iceman.
Richard Kuklinski.
Yeah, exactly. And they talk about he was a stone cold killer, and it just clicked, and he went, there it is, stone cold, and it's out of nowhere. And that's sort of what happened with me with the difference. So I really connect with the concept of looking for it, and you can't force it. That's the problem with it, because as much as you know what your gimmick you want it to be and what your character you want it to be and how much you want to commit to it, you can't force it sometimes. It has to happen. Even if you Razor Ramon.
Yep.
Scott Hall selling that to Vince, and you've probably heard the story and probably heard Scott talk about it as well. He literally just ripped off Scarface.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And thankfully for him, Vince had never seen Scarface. Do you know the story of how he got the name?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so Vince is like, yeah, love it, and they were throwing these names around, and shit names. He couldn't get it, and like he goes, all right, I'll be back in a minute, and he went to the toilet, and in walked Tito Santana, and Scott said, like, Tito, help me out here. I need a Spanish sounding name, Mexican sounding name, this, that, and he's throwing it like Razor, about 5, and Tito said, he goes, what about Ramon? Scott's like, fuck, that's it.
Yeah.
Just happened. He's like, thanks, Tito, amazing. Goes back, Vince, I've got it. Razor Ramon. And Vince goes, love it. Sold. And there it was. You can't force that sort of stuff. And the really funny thing for me is I actually, I enjoy the creative side behind wrestling and angles and character work.
Yep.
So quite often I will give my 2 cents to the booking staff around not what they do or how they want to run their staff, but when they're talking about this is what's happening, but I'm like, okay, cool, why is this happening? Hey, it'd be good here, how about this and that? And so I will always throw my 2 cents in, and I've been around long enough that I actually get listened to, which is great. Not always right, get that. However, I'm just better than them. So in saying that, I talk to the young guys about all that stuff and how it just has to happen, it has to click and stuff like that. So the creative side for me is really good. I've given away over the years so many names and ideas and angles to other people that just sitting there, I'm talking as I do, and I talk shit, and you know that anyway, and I just continually mine just goes.
Stuff,
and I just bang, something will click and I go, you know what you should do, this would be good for this, bang, here's a name, here's a thing, this is what your gimmick should be. Some people have gone, oh fuck, that's amazing.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, and I'm like, I've given it, and it used to frustrate me at times that I would give away so much stuff and find so much stuff for other people that I could never find anything for me. So when I finally got to the point of the difference, I'm sitting there one day and I knew coming into RCW I had to have something different. I had to have something new, something that I hadn't done before, something that when I walked out onto that stage, for the small handful of fans that cross over and would know me from Snake Pit where I used to be, it still wasn't going to be the same character as that. Yes, it was going to be all the same, intensity and attitude and all that, in a different focal point. So coming up with, I had to have something different. I had to, and I just started, and to be honest, where I did it was I started playing with the letters of Tyler Daniels and literally wanted to find something that was TD. So that's where it comes from. So I'm like, I want something different, and it literally almost evolved out of saying that over mantra. Almost the difference. Holy shit! Why wouldn't you? It is something that hasn't been done before. I don't believe I'm ripping anyone else off from anywhere else ever in the world. But it makes so much sense. Yeah. The beauty of it that's evolved over the last probably 8-9 months that I've realised is in everyday conversation how often that statement actually comes up. And it just reaffirms to me that, you know what, I don't know how you fell on it, I don't know how someone else didn't find it before you, but it is great. It works and it is there and it certainly typifies me. Yeah. And even, on the back of this t-shirt, if you have a look at it, like it talks about total domination, it's like there's 4 different lines, but they're all TD the whole way down. So it's that whole concept of reaffirming that name and that I guess the imagery of that TD, so you get that whole recognition. A lot of what I used to do for work is a lot of marketing, a lot of business improvement, stuff like that. So a lot of that visualization and understanding how to promote and market and put that out to people is a lot of what I do anyway. Yep. So for me, the promotional aspect of that and how to get people across and how to get your character across and how to sell that is second nature to me. It's what I do, and that's really what I love doing so much. I use the term selling, and to me, everything is a sell, whatever you do. In business, in life, in wrestling, in work, whatever it is. So I'm a huge one for thinking you can't oversell as such. And we talked about that match with Michaels and Hogan. For me, it's exactly the same. Yes, he oversold.
Can't over-deliver, can you?
He oversold that ridiculously, yet it wasn't oversold.
No,
because he couldn't. So for me, there's ridiculous stuff that just doesn't fit. Yeah. But you can't oversell as such. So I'm a big one for selling. I love it. So it's taken a long time, and it's a journey. And I would have loved to have found it 13 months into the business rather than 13 years into the business. However, that's how it had to happen, clearly for a reason. So,
what has you found? You said you went from Snake Pit to RCW, and obviously I don't want to.
No, absolutely, yeah.
But is there do you find there's a difference between the promotions?
Yeah, definitely there is. And that was a year or so ago. I started thinking again that concept of closer to the end than the beginning. Yep. All right. So what else do I want to do? And Johnny, who I have known him since the day I first walked into a wrestling gym, from day one, and he's always looked out for me. And he and I have worked together behind the scenes and in matches and stuff as well. And still great mates and friends to this day. I think for me, it got to the point where there wasn't really a lot left for me to do in that sense. And it was about me looking at new challenges, new horizons, what's out there, what else. That's essentially where I thought, okay, let's have a look around, let's see what's what. Yeah. And it was not for any other reason than I just wanted to see what else I could do. What else could I do? Would I be accepted somewhere else? Could I make my character work somewhere else? Everyone at Snake Pit knew who I was, whether it's commentary, in-ring, got over in that sense, no drama. So is it just there? Is it just this little contained area, or can I make this work elsewhere? What else can I do? What else could I achieve? Had a look at the RCW product, and one thing with the RC product was the production is amazing. Like their production value in regard to their setup, their venue, all the pre-promotional, the lighting, all the entrance way stuff, all that stuff is amazing. I thought this is great. This is really professional looking stuff. I'd love to be involved in it. And then I stopped and I looked at the actual show. And I'm standing there and I'm going, yep, okay. And I used to stand in the crowd. For anyone who's an RCW fan, if they think back, they may have actually seen me standing in the crowd toward the back occasionally. And I just sort of sat there and I watched everyone that came out. I watched the matches and how they put together. And I started thinking, I feel like Terry Funk, old man. Just thinking, I could do some stuff with him. I could make him. Just like I literally went, okay, there's stuff here that I've got stuff I can offer to this product. Yep. I can make this. I can offer this product something to make that good, and I can help work with these guys, and I could do something with that guy, and at the same time, it's a mutual payoff because I'm going, this has got something that can offer me. There's guys here I haven't wrestled. There's younger guys. There's newer guys. There's a different style. There's a different take on it. There's a different crowd. All that sort of stuff. I'm like, okay. So there's stuff I could get and benefit from here, but there's guys here I could offer something back, and I could get that, and I reckon I could work with them, and I could do something there, and I can see an angle with that down the track. So that came about, and obviously, I said I've known Chris for a long time, so I got in contact with Chris. I saw him after the show anyway, and just sort of said, mate, I'd love to come down and train and just see, is it going to be a fit? Because it looked like a fit.
Yep.
Was it going to be a fit? There was only down there and go, this is just style, doesn't work for me. So I went down and trained with them, and at the same time let Johnny know, look, I'm looking at options. I'm not saying I'm doing anything, but I'm looking at options. Went down, trained, and just really enjoyed the training, enjoyed the guys, and over time, over the next few months, realised that's where I wanted to go. Said my goodbyes at Snake Pit and went and respectfully went out, did the right thing on the way there to make sure I maintain my ability to be, from a professional perspective as well as friendship perspective on level terms with everyone. Yes. Came across, and I think immediately the first thing was the energy and the vibe from the crowd they get at RCW, the excitement to it, and there's some small things. I mean, even their 5-minute countdown before the show, I love that concept. I think it's amazing. It gets people already start to hype. Fuck, we've only got 5 minutes to go. Okay, we've done whatever. Quickly, let me get my last drink. I want to be ready for this. So yeah. I think it's a really cool thing. And it makes it feel like an event, and I love that. Funnily enough, I love the warning that comes on that goes, "Please make sure you keep your hands inside the guard." It makes you feel like you're going on a ride at the show. And I'm like, okay, I'm excited. I want to do this now. So I think stuff like that gets me. I click with that. Yeah, that's clever. But it's the energy that those guys have, that the crowd, that they're there, they want to go. I've been really lucky. For me, I guess coming into the business. Well, into RCW, it's not like I'm debuting from nowhere. So the guys know I'm an established wrestler. I can wrestle, I can do a promo, I can hold my own as a character, all those sorts of things. So it literally is a Scott Hall going from WWE across to doing outsiders type thing at WCW. Yep. It's that feel, because if you are a crossover fan from Snake Pit, you know exactly who I am. As soon as they say my name, you know who I'm going to be. Mm-hmm. And there's a pocket of that. There was a pocket of that when I first came across, and I was really lucky. The first show that I came out with, and funny enough, the first show I watched at the start of this year for RCW, I hadn't actually done anything at the time, and we were trying to look at a way to bring me into RCW. How's that going to look? What's the feel? We don't want to just, it's a new guy. How's it going to permutate? And so I watched the first show, and the first thing I noticed right at the start of the show was Wolf Dog wasn't commentating. He commentated all last year and then had to take some time away. And I watched the first show and I went, you've got no Wolf Dog there, you've got no heel commentator. And I've known Wolf Dog forever as well. I'm like, okay. And I watched that, and halfway through the show I already knew. I already picked it. There it is. So after the show I grabbed Sean straight away and said, hey, I've got my way in. He goes, what do you mean? I said, well, that third commentary chair, you don't have a heel commentator. I don't have to do anything except talk, exactly. Which is the best thing I can do anyway. He's like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. Went down, talked to Craig, pitched that, and he's like, love it. It's the best way we've thought of. It's the best thing we've got so far. Like, I'll bring you in. That's perfect. So, next show, and this is where I say I was really lucky, fortunate timing, stuff like that. And they've been really, afforded me a lot of opportunity as well. And what I mean by that is the second show, go out, have the very first match, which, funnily enough, after the first match, we were supposed to go down to the ring and do an interview. Introduce me. Sean was going to go into the ring, my subsequent player and come to the ring. Mm-hmm. First match, they broke the bottom rope. Turnbuckle broke. Halfway through the match. They finished the match, they called an audible halfway through going, we're doing the interview from the stage. Mm-hmm. Black out the ring, we're going to fix the ring while the interview's on. I'm like, it makes sense, cool. I'm cool. Yeah. I can work with that. And it was really cool because, I shouldn't say it's cool, but it is. Josh had stuffed his knee up and was actually on a walking stick at the time. So he said, look, I'm not going to go down to the ring because I'm on the walking stick. I said, that's cool, that's fine. I'll make note of it. And he sort of looked at me like, not really knowing what that meant, right? And I went to Sean, I'm going to fuck him up. Yeah. And Sean just went, okay. Sean knew me at that point, but didn't really know me. He's like, okay. Didn't know my character work too much. And I actually had dressed appropriately. I had the suit pants on. I actually had a suit shirt. I had a shirt on. Right? Long sleeve shirt on because I was being introduced and doing the right thing. Yeah. So Sean comes onto the stage, and you know where the commentary desk is, right just under the stage, right? Bang. So Sean does. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce the newest acquisition to Riot City Wrestling, a veteran, this and that. The difference, Tyler Daniels, right? Now, as soon as he mentioned that, there was a small pocket of people who knew who it was. As soon as they heard that name, they started going off. They started chanting Tyler, and I'm like, okay, interesting. There's a pop there already. Okay. I walked out on the stage. Everyone who didn't know me just saw this guy who clearly is built and looks like a wrestler, and they just went, holy
Comes out
shit.
with an air
I went,
about him.
fuck. And I've walked out like I own the place anyway, right? Bang, just to one side, off to the other, do that. Yep, no worries. Grab a microphone. And Sean's like, oh, Tyler, it's really great to have you here. I want to welcome you, brother. I said, and I just looked at him and went, oh, right. Turned and stood over at Josh and looked down at him and said, well, it's really nice that at least half of the commentary team showed the respect to me, right? And Josh has just looked at me with this look like,
what the fuck?
Legit, like, wasn't expecting it. And that's why it's straight up. And people just went, holy shit, right, straight away, right? And then back it up with, like, Sean's gone, tell us about yourself, this and that. I said, well, yeah, for sure, I'm the difference Tyler Daniels, for those people who know me, you're very welcome. And for those who don't, boy, are you in for a ride, sort of thing, right? And it's just like, everyone's like, holy, okay, this guy talks a game, like, and then I joined him on commentary for the rest of the show and, like, literally just found my mark in there and found a niche with Sean really quickly, which is great. And 3 or 4 more barbs at Josh throughout the night, who's the facey, poppy commentator that people sort of tolerate and enjoy. And I just bang, barbed him all night. And then next show came out, Thailand's t-shirt with suit pants. So a little bit, of me coming through, but being respectful. And I got 3 or 4 shows over as commentary, was able to do that. And then we had the situation where Sean and I went out to interview Green, and young Green obviously showed his lack of understanding and respect for the business. At which point, when I made, I guess, my physical impact to Riot City. So the coolest thing about that was no one saw that coming. No one knew that was coming whatsoever. And even people I know backstage didn't know that was coming. And people who were in the audience had no clue whatsoever. I think people had seen me on the commentary desk for 3 or 4 shows, just went, oh, okay, cool, it's interviews, whatever. Had no concept whatsoever. And if you go back and watch that footage, which I have a few times because I enjoy it, it's literally 3 things. He was a clothesline, flatliner, and a finish with another one. It's literally, 3 or 4 seconds of impact, and it's just bang. And when I hit him with that clothesline, I heard the crowd go, oh. The problem with it is, those who appreciate that style went nuts and started popping for me, which, hey, appreciate it, love it. That's not what it was for. Like, and I thought, fuck, you guys need to be giving something green. And so then, next shows we talked about earlier, come out attacking from behind, dragging through the crowd.
Yep.
Problem for poor Green was, he came out and he's got his new entrance music and stuff, and people were like, oh yeah, okay, cool, yay. I walked on from behind, and as soon as they saw me walk on, I heard them go off before I'd even hit him. I'm like, oh fuck, okay. And as soon as I hit him, they went nuts, dragged him through the crowd, they loved it. Hit him with the flatliner, bang, people went nuts. Cut promo on him about disrespect and the beatings and stuff. What started to turn is when I hit him with the second flatliner.
Yep.
People in the audience were okay with it to that point, but when I dragged him up and hit him with the second one, people started to go, oh, I'm not too sure about that.
It's a bit too much at this point.
That's a little uncomfortable. Not sure I'm okay with that, which is good.
Yeah. And
then obviously as we saw the match that we had to have, when it came out, I actually there were people legitimately giving me heat at that point, which is great because they're starting to get Green over, which is awesome. So, yeah, look, as I said, I've been afforded a lot of opportunity in that sense, and I'm very grateful for that. I'd like to hope that my work, commentary desk, and in the ring, and all that is giving back to that and paying that back. But it's a very different feel. It's a very exciting feel, and it's interesting for me to know that the character isn't not one-dimensional, but it isn't only confined to the world of Snake Pit. It comes across and it's transferable to a wider audience, a new audience. And the response back to that has been exceptionally rewarding for me. So, and to be a little self-indulgent, and I'm okay to do that from time to time, I'd like to hope and think, I personally think in 2016, myself and my characters probably had the biggest impact on Riot City Wrestling. And I don't do anything by halves, I don't do anything to become second place, so why wouldn't I want that to happen?
Exactly.
So, yeah, so it's been really good. Different, but great.
Well, finally, if you'd like to look at that camera there and hit any plugs you'd like to plug, and also hit the people at home with a Tyler Daniels promo for us.
Plugs, I would say, firstly, obviously Riot City Wrestling. I need to plug those guys. They'll probably kill me if I don't. Next show is October 22nd, the Latvian Horde is key to the city. 4 men, a ladder, a key above the ring. guaranteed to be carnage and some brutality. Hopefully, me delivering and not taking. Beyond that, check out Tyler Daniels _ The Difference on Instagram, and if you look at Tyler Daniels The Difference on Facebook, you'll always also find my character page on there. Feel free to jump on board. I regularly put stuff up there. Other plugs beyond that. Oh, look, if I wanted to be really self-indulgent, there's probably stuff. Really digging my New Balance kicks at the moment, my training kicks. Love them. Love New Balance. They're amazing stuff. Really getting into stance socks at the moment. I've got a fetish with socks. The most amazing and outrageous socks. There's another guy out there who, if he watches this, will know exactly what I'm talking about because he's trying to beat me at how many he's got. But yeah, just look, what I'd say, anyone who wants to get into business, I encourage you to give it a try. Don't expect it to be easy. Don't expect you just walk into a ring. There's going to be a lot of batterings. There's going to be a lot of hard work. It hurts. It is fun for the most part, but it's what you want to make of it. For me, I guess what I would say is if you want to come to a show and you want to see Tyler Daniels in the ring, what I hope is you're always going to be entertained. You may not like what he does, you may not like who he is or what he stands for. You're always going to walk away going, he gave what he could, and you're going to enjoy yourself. And if you don't, that's on you, not on me, because I definitely did enjoy myself, probably making you hate me, so that's fine. Beyond that, get to a live wrestling show, get to a local wrestling scene. WWE is great, but there's a lot of guys out there, blood, sweat and tears, that are absolutely spilling their guts every day, every month to put on shows, so get out there and support. If you support, great. Now grab 5 friends and take them with you. We only thrive on who's in the crowd. So as much as you want to get involved, as much as we'll give back to you.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
You're more than welcome.
I'll see you next time. And thank you all at home. I've been Adam Gerard. He's been Tyler Daniels. And we'll see you next time.
This has been a Cabana production.